All right, so there's a few things I need to do in this video because the topic that I'm going to talk about today is one that makes me quite emotional. It does make my blood boil because I've got personal experience with it, and I see that the agenda being pushed is total bullshit. In saying that, there's a few things I need to do in this video. I need to try and not swear too much because I know that puts people off. And I know Jesus probably wouldn't appreciate me doing all the swearing I do. That's a challenge. It's something that it's one of the afflictions that I've identified, or Jesus has identified for me since I found Christ, is that I need to stop swearing so much. So I'm going to try and do that. I need to try and keep it on topic as best as I can because there's a lot I want to say about this, and I want to make sure I get it all out while being conscious of time. Yeah, I want to be because I'm conscious of time, and also I think there's a few other topics that sort of mold into this that I wanted to do different videos on, I feel as though I probably have to introduce those topics as well into this video. All right, so there's a major psyop going on here in Australia presently. Major psyop going on here in Australia presently, and it's evidence of the New World Order playing out here in Australia. As usual, the masses don't see it. In fact, they contribute to it, and they make me out to be a moron, somebody who's from Hicksville from the 1950s, who needs to get with the times. It's a constant thread in my time, in my life, and I tell you what, I'm not interested in these times because these times are bad. If you look back 20 years ago, you can see, well, all of these social, society has changed in the order of social progressiveness over the years. And if you look back to the world 20 years ago and you see the world now, the slippery slope argument is very, very real. But every time there's a new piece of legislation or a new social discussion that comes up, such as gay marriage, it's like, nah, that won't happen. But sure enough, it does. You know, you can see, I saw in a call for an uprising the other day that somebody was marrying a dog or something, and somebody's having sex with their dog, and that's fine. It's got 1,000 views. But if I say anything about Israel, you know, I got kicked off Twitter because I said stuff about Israel. And it's like somebody can have sex with a dog. But anyway, the topic I want to talk. Well, anyway. Firstly, I want to identify this is not hate speech in any way, shape or form towards women. It's not hate speech towards the political left, and it's not hate speech towards anyone. It's just me shooting from the hip, speaking truth, giving my belief system to what I feel is going on in the world today. So there's a massive psyop going on here presently, and it's about the elevation of women. And I'm going to get to the reasons as to why I feel this psyop is going on at the moment, where it's coming from, etc. But I just want to talk about a few things about it first, and also a couple of personal experiences that I've had in the topic. So today is a day called White Ribbon Day. So White Ribbon Day is, I assume you have to give money, because you have to give money to all the charities, and all the proceeds, of course, go to Israel. But it's called White Ribbon Day, and it's all about not hitting women. Now, I think 99% of the population of blokes out there know that it's okay. Well, it's not okay to hit women. I certainly do. I know everybody in my circle of friends and family know it's not okay to hit women. So there's that. Now, there's a real with the elevation of women, there's a real push in the media, who of course are controlled by Israel. All the media are controlled by Israel, we know that, but there's a real thing in the media right now about pushing and elevating women over men, and nothing for men, and men are made out to be the bad guy, who are always out to get women. We're just the big boogeyman, and women are the just perfect innocent victim, just like who else? Perfect innocent victim. Can you? But anyway, some examples of that is we've got this Ribbon Day. We've also got International Women's Day. Over here in Australia, we've got a cricket test match, the Sydney Test. It's generally the last test of the summer. The whole ground turns pink for, I think, breast cancer. Test cricket of anything, you can't touch test cricket. I remember growing up as a kid, you ask Dad any question, he's like, oh no, you can't touch test cricket, it's tradition. You have to have the white ball, they have to play in white clothes, they have to play during the day because it's tradition. But because there's a social agenda being driven for women, they change they change the bails, they change the stumps, they change everything. They change everything to pink because it drives the women agenda. I go for St Kilda in the AFL, although that's starting to wear very thin because they are social progressives, and it's social progression is it's socialism, it's Marxism, and it's driven by the New World Order. And the New World Order, of course, is anti-Bible, anti-God, and pro-Antichrist. The other some other examples of it is you see on the apps now. Like I went on the cricket app the other day and I wanted to see when the one days were on, but on the front page they had a picture of a woman standing in front of the men's cricketer. Like, really? Cricket's a men's sport. If women want to play it, fine. I'd want nothing to do with it, and that don't make me a sexist because I don't like women's sport. There's other examples of it in the media here. Quite often on the news they'll have they'll have a man and a woman news presenters, and then they'll have a sports presenter and a weather presenter. I don't know whether it's the same in other countries, but that's the general model here. Quite often, particularly on the ABC, they'll have two women at the desk. On this International Women's Day, every single channel, every single show do it. They just have women on the desk and no men. And it's just, there's example after example of this. Now, in the media here, there's a definite bias towards the left. There are some right-wing journalists around, but they're mainly on pay TV. I don't really watch TV anymore. I can't deal with it because I just see right through it. But what I can remember, I think there was a few shows on pay TV that might have been right-leaning, but on the free-to-air, I can't think of too many right-leaning ones. I know Channel 7, they're very left. Channel 10 are extremely left. The ABC, of course, the left because they're the national broadcaster, and we're in bed with Israel, so it makes sense that they would be on the political left. And they're all driving these social issues, and it's about sort of like the video that I said the other day, where we're creating a false society driven by the TV. So there's that. There's another concept here that's being pushed in Australia about equality. I remember there's a big thing that everyone's equal and the women are disadvantaged somehow. There's a thing here where there's a pay gap. Nobody can tell me what this pay gap is. Like, I don't know of any example ever where women have been paid less than men simply because they're a woman. If anyone can point that out to me, I would have thought that's illegal. Perhaps women are they're in occupations where they get paid less. Nurses, for instance. Like, people become a nurse fully aware of what the pay is, fully aware of what the conditions is. They choose to become a nurse. Why their reasons are for that, I don't know. But you can't just know what the pay is, become something, and then whinge about the pay. If you want more pay, you should go for a better job. Joe Hockey said it here one day. He was a right-leaning politician. He said it here one day. He said, people can afford houses because they get good jobs. And he was just jumped on. And it's like, well, isn't it logic? Like, don't you, if you want to buy a house, don't you need a job with money? And they were just jumped on it because apparently that was anti-equality. I heard another interview the other day where that Lisa Wilkinson, who I'll get to, she asked a politician. She says, "Oh, do you believe in equality?" And the politician was absolutely petrified. He said, "Oh, of course I'm." And it's like, what? Really? So if men and women are equal, and please tell me where this pay gap is. If men and women are truly equal, why is there women's sport? Why is there women's cricket? Why is there women's football? Why is there women's tennis? It's because we're not equal. I'm stronger than women. Yeah, it's a fact. I'm stronger than women. That don't make me a misogynist. It don't make me a bigot. It don't make me a sexist. It makes me just a guy who deals with facts. Women, I'm sure, can do some things better than men. They can sure have babies better than men. I mean, I can't do that. I can't have a baby. I mean, that's not very fair, is it? That's not very equal. The whole thing, the whole notion is just absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, today is this White Ribbon Day, and it's all about women. It's all about women being the victim to men. I mean, I fully appreciate that there's some blokes out there who hit their women, who's abusive towards their women. But I'm also sure too that women are violent towards men. I mean, there's some men out there who are just pipsqueaks. They're just weak as piss humans. And I'm sure they're with some of these women who are ferals and they're abusing the men. I'm sure that's going on. Women, I see it all the time. They mentally abuse the man. They mentally abuse the man because they use sex as a weapon and they use their kids as a weapon. They do it all the time. And it's not, I'm not being a bigot. I'm not being a sexist. I'm just stating facts. All right, so I want to reflect on my journey a little bit. I am hesitant. I am hesitant to reflect on my own personal journey on YouTube, but I'm at a point in my life where I'm 45 now and I'm being driven by Jesus. Jesus is helping guide my life, and this feels right, so fuck it. The reason why I've got this channel is because there's people in my life who I'm sure, like if I found out right now that my dad was doing YouTube videos when he was 45 and I didn't know about it, I would be absolutely claiming to see those videos. My dad used to write sermons, and I asked him the other day if he's got any, but no, he hasn't, because of his story with the church. How I mentioned the other day in my video, like where do real followers of Christ fellowship. I mentioned my dad's journey with the church. So he fell out with the church, and I'm not going to talk about my dad's faith, but basically he told me that he threw out those sermons because of what happened in the church, and that's a tragedy because I would love to have read them. So the reason why I'm here is because I know there's people in my life, people in my family, potentially people I'm yet to meet, who will look back at these videos and they may even find them a little nugget of gold because I'll be important to them. So I'm at a point in my life where I'm just going to put things up. So back in about 1996, I met a girl. I was about 22. We had a relationship. It was a good relationship. She was a real knockabout type of girl. Not overly feminine. And we used to do great stuff. We used to go camping together. We used to go on adventures. We used to hang out with her brother, drink beers, eat junk food. It was fabulous. It was a really good relationship. But as soon as she fell pregnant with, we decided to have a baby. It was a mutual decision. As soon as she fell pregnant with that baby, it turns out they were twins. As soon as she fell pregnant with those kids, it changed. It changed like that. It was like a 180-degree turn. No longer was she interested in me at all. She had zero interest in me, and she started to become a real bitch. The way she started to talk to me, she dominated me. My opinion didn't matter. She started to mock me, started to ridicule me. The only conversation was about the babies, and if I wasn't interested in the babies at that time, so I'd just come home from a 12-hour day at work, I'd be in the shit. I'd be in the doghouse for days because she reckons I wasn't interested in the babies. She just made it all about how I reacted to her, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I'm intensely interested in my kids, and I'd love nothing more to have a relationship with them. In any case, when my kids were 4 months old, she kicked me out. We were in bed one night. I remember I was watching a rugby union test. She kicked me out. She said, the only words she said to me, she says, "I don't believe this relationship is working and you have to leave." I remember walking out. My mother actually helped me move out, and we observed her and her best friend, who's still her best friend. I've got a lot to say about the best friend, but I won't do it on this video. Her and her best friend were sitting in the lounge room with the babies in front of them, laughing at me as I walked out. To this day, I don't know why she kicked me out. There's no official reason. I do actually know the reason. It's because I was her sperm bank, and then I was an 18-year money bank to her. I had to pay that bitch 18 years of child support after what she did to me. and I had, if I didn't pay it, it was considered a debt to the Commonwealth. I was happy to pay it in a sense because I wanted to support my kids, but I had to pay it to her. Every single Thursday, $235 would come out of my account to pay her because she kicked me out of our home. The reason why I tell that story is, I'll get to that in a sec. I also wanted to reflect on my brother's journey. I hope that this is okay, mate. He was also married with 2 kids, and his wife got up and had an affair. My brother was quite a popular figure up here at the local football club. The wife arrived one day dressed up to the nines, and my brother wasn't there. We all know what that means when a lady comes up dressed up as the nines. Anyway, this bloke arrives, they start passing on. Next thing we know, she leaves my brother and they piss off to Queensland, take the kids, and now my brother is left and he can't trust women anymore, and the whole thing's just shattered him. He loves his kids love him, but they're all the way up at the Gold Coast now, gone. He has a better relationship with his kids than mine, but all the same, they're gone. And what did he do? Nothing. My kids don't talk to me because the whole time, and this is another concept I wanted to talk about in this video, is people can do whatever the hell they want to you, and it's society now dictates that it's all about your reaction. So my ex-wife, she left me. Well, she didn't leave me, she kicked me out for no reason. And then she fed the kids with bullshit over the years. It all become about how I reacted to the new paradigm that she'd created for me. So, Brett, these are now the rules. You must follow the rules. And she never told me what the rules were. I wasn't overly interested in the rules because I'm not interested in other people telling me what I have to do and how I have to live my life. But one of those things were apparently I didn't contact the kids enough. The kids did not have to contact me at all. It was just all about me contacting them. And every time I did contact them, I would just get grief about how little I was contacting them. So it just led to a point where I didn't want to contact them, as every time I contacted them, it would just be a fight. Where are they getting those thoughts from? Yeah, directly from her. What I sort of want to know is, so both with my brother, and with myself, we both sought legal advice when this happened, and we were told we would have to pay out thousands of dollars in prolonged legal fees in order to do this. So if men and women are truly equal, why do women always get the prize when it comes to kids? Why do men have to pay child support to the women? And why is the default the women always get the kids no matter what the hell they do and no matter how they treat the man? It's not equal. There is no equality. It is all about the woman. It's all about the woman. They can do whatever the hell they want, and the man can please themselves. Men get it tough in this life. I remember when I was on social media, I used to commentate on this sort of thing. I used to make comments on Facebook and Twitter a lot about this stuff, about the inequality in the family law court, and I would always be told, "Oh, you poor thing, you poor big man," and just belittled by the political left. And that's the thing. Men are strong. We are strong creatures, and I'm not complaining. I'm not a victim. There's no victims. It's all driven by the media. But I can hear people now saying, "Oh, you poor thing, you poor victim." It's like, I'm not a victim. Life sucks. Life deals out poor things sometimes. But give me strength. Give me strength with White Ribbon Day and Fight for Maddie, and women are somehow elevated more than men. It's total bullshit. And anybody who's lived a little bit of their life know it. But you can't say anything, because if you say anything, you get kicked off social media. You become a social outcast. You get fired from jobs. If I give any of my views about, I don't agree with multiculturalism, I don't agree with abortion, I don't believe with the trans agenda, I don't believe in all of these things, I think they're wrong, I become the social outcast. Why are these views wrong? They're not wrong. They're completely right. They're of the Bible. They're about a good society. They're about a fair society, and they're about God, but pure and simple. And that's what the whole thing's about. That's sort of the reason why I tell my story about my kids. My kids don't talk to me anymore. One of them I spoke to about 18 months ago. The other one, she hasn't spoken to me for about 4 years. I won't go into detail why, but all I can gather is it's about how I reacted over the years to her kicking me out. I don't know whether my girls are going to see this or not, whether they see it or not. I do want them to know that I love them dearly, and I would love nothing more than to get in this car right now and go and see them. I'd love to go and see them as much as I possibly could. Just from a distant observer, and that's all I am now with my kids, is I'm just a distant observer. I know they need me. I know they need a father figure in their life. They need a different set of views than their mother. But it's not going to happen, because all I get whenever I try to contact them is a united front. And I've also got reason to believe that my kids laugh at me, and they also belittle me. So I just want nothing to do with that. When they're ready, they'll come to me, and I'll present little pieces of the truth as I feel they're ready. But I love my kids, and I'd love nothing more to be able to spend time with them. But as we sit here and we commemorate this White Ribbon Day, I can't have a relationship with my kids because of what their mother did to me. Equality, women, fairness. There's a real bias here in the left in the media. Just got a couple of notes here. I just need to reflect on them. So as I say, I've got a lot I want to go over. This is sort of an example of how the media go here in Australia, pushing the women's agenda. There was a murder about 2 years ago. She was an ABC journalist. Because she's a journalist, the journalists were all over it, particularly ABC, because that's where she worked. Her name was Jill Maher. She was taken off the street and raped and killed. There was actually CCTV footage of her last moments. It's tragic. It's dreadful to watch it. It's a horrible, horrible story. You wouldn't wish it upon anyone. That the trauma that her family must have gone through was horrific. But this story dominated the media for weeks, and it went on, and social media blew up. There was another instance about 6 months ago here where a woman was murdered by her husband. Then there's the Rose Batty thing, and yeah, Rose Batty's interesting because she become whether that story's sus or not, because the father hit, you know, you're always wary of Israel and hoaxes, and I'm not saying this one was, but I don't know. The father hit the kid to death apparently when he was playing cricket with a cricket bat, and the lady's name's Rose Batty. So whether there's anything in that, I don't know. But she was just made up to be the biggest victim in the world. She got a really high profile. She was Australian of the Year, I think, for one year. So you get Australian of the Year because your wife kills your kid, but if your husband kills your kid, that's grounds here in Australia to become Australian of the Year. But she was just a national hero, some sort of icon, because her husband killed her kid. There was another example here about 6 months ago where a woman died, a woman was murdered. I think she was raped and murdered in Newcastle, I think it was. And the whole media just blew up about it because it was a woman. Lisa Wilkinson, she's a creature, her and her husband, that bloody Red Bandana guy who used to play Union. She was on The Project one night. She was on The Project, that disgusting Channel 10 Marxist show, and she's in tears, and she's put her arm around, no, she looks at the camera really close, and she goes like this, and she says, "Men, please go down the pub tonight and all give each other a hug and tell each other that it's not okay to hit a woman." She did that, and she's crying on air, and the whole audience is, oh, and the whole panel was just speechless, and it was so touching. It was really, really touching. If I go down the pub and say that to my mates, they think I'm a fucking idiot. Like, what the hell are you talking about, mate? Of course we're not gonna go out and kill women, the whole and hurt women. I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous. Of course, some blokes hurt women, some women hurt blokes, but it's really White Ribbon Day. Equality, women are perfect. I mean, give me a spell. There was another example here. Used to play golf with a bloke about 20 years ago up here at Wyong. I haven't seen him in about 20 years, but it was a couple, a guy and a girl. They hadn't had the kid at this point. The kid was only about 8. The kid, I'll get back to that bit. Yeah, I haven't seen him in 20 years because I haven't played golf in about 15, 20 years. I stopped playing. That's probably another video I can do as to why I stopped playing golf. But anyway, a news story come on about 3-4 weeks ago, and when it come on, I said to my brother, I said, "Hey, that's so and so," and he said, "Yeah, it is too." It turns out she killed this kid. She murdered her son, and then went and suicided herself. How much news coverage do you reckon that got? About 2 minutes one night. There's no coverage on it. I've trawled the internet because I want information. I want to know how he's going, because he was a mate of mine. He must be absolutely traumatized. He must be devastated. His wife killed his child, and then she murdered herself. But there's no blow up on social media about that. How's that equal? You know, equality in Australia is advancing the left Marxist agenda over anyone else. Over good thought, over the Bible, over Christian values. That's what equality is, and it's grinding us into the dirt. That's exactly what equality is in Australia. I think that's about all that I wanted to put out there today. On this, I just to sort of recap on it. White Ribbon Day, we have a charity. I mean, that would be okay if there was some sort of charity for men as well. Charity's another one I could talk about all day. I mean, because all proceeds go to Israel and people don't seem to see it. But this whole thing of elevating women, and you can't speak ill against women, you can't speak the truth, but yet society just says that there's a massive bias in society towards men. There's certainly no bias against women. I just can't see it. Like this pay gap. Where is it? Where does it exist? Where does the gap? Where's the inequality exist between men and women? I just don't see it. Women aren't second-class citizens, nor should they be, nor should men be. But it's driven by this lefty, socialist, Marxist media, and it's all in order for the New World Order. And you look at all of these agendas are about the New World Order, every single one of them. You look at, what can you look at? You can look at the trans agenda. It's all about anti-Bible. The New World Order is all anti-Bible, anti-creator, anti-God, and all pro the Antichrist. You look at the Baphomet. The Baphomet's got a cock, and the Baphomet's got tits. It's got both genders. I think they call it an androgynous being. I think that's the word. And that's where the trans agenda comes in, because they want people cutting off their cock. They want people mutilating their vagina. It's anti-God. They want them to do it. And that's what the gay thing is. And that's what abortion is. It's all about eroding the family, and it's all about eroding Christian values. And the masses just fall for it. And and when I fight against it, somebody like me fights against it, we're made out to be some sort of bigot, misogynistic, bloody creature, moron creature. And it could be any further from the truth. I mean, we're just free thinking, logical thinking, people who have got eyes to see and ears to hear. And I, for one, ain't gonna fall for it. The White Ribbon Day, the Pink Ribbon Day, the fight for Maddie, Rose Batty being the Australian of the Year, and all this while I had to pay that bitch $235 every week because she kicked me out, because she had a premeditated agenda, and now my kids don't talk to me, and it just sucks. So women being the victim to men, give me a spell.